What's up guys, Gabriel Varga here. Now today, by very popular request, we are talking about how to beat the pressure fighter. And I have 8 points for you guys. 8 points that I have used myself, and we're actually going to run back through today my fight against Mossab Amrani because he was the typical pressure fighter. Now as we go through this fight and I give you these 8 tips, you're going to notice that this is the perfect style to defeat a normal pressure fighter. Will it work every time for every possible opponent? Definitely not, because each fighter is different and you need to be able to adjust and adapt your game plan according to what they're bringing. But for Mossab Amrani, who at the time was the #1 featherweight kickboxer in the world, this style that I prepared for that will work for most of you against pressure fighters was perfect. So let's dive right into the episode. Now, like I said, guys, we've had this request a lot of times. It's because most people get a little overwhelmed when somebody keeps coming and coming and coming at them. And I understand it can be overwhelming. But before we go any further, guys, do me a favor, get subscribed to the channel. We are almost at 10K. We've had a massive bump lately, over 3,000 subs in the last week or two, and your support is immensely appreciated. Now, I want to talk about Mossab for one moment and show you the pressure that he brought to the previous opponents that he had fought before me, which got him this title shot. With the two of us were ranked #1, #2, we got that title shot. I want to show you who he beat beforehand and how. Because as you can see here from these clips, he just used pressure and pressure to take down these top guys. If you look right now here at this clip with Liam Harrison, he body KO drops him off the ring ropes. He pushed him backwards, lands that body shot, TKO. Liam Harrison is one of the scariest fighters in the world. And Mossab with his pressure just rolled through him in one round. That was crazy to see, and we're going to talk about that a little later on, how to avoid that happening. But first, let's move in to point #1. Now, the first thing to understand about a pressure fighter, the first thing that I recognized when I knew I was fighting Mossab, is you are going to have your defense on point. Because pressure fighters are coming at you. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming and keep coming. And the main thing you can do to prepare is make sure that defensively you are not going to get hit. Now, how did I prepare for this? I would basically back myself up against a corner. Just, you know, it could be the ring ropes, it could be a wall, just put my heel against it. I'd get my hands up to my head and I would just work one person attacking me for just like 9 minutes. We'd do 3-3-minute rounds. I would just stand here and I would just work tight. I wouldn't get fancy. Now this is entirely up to you. But for me, I felt with somebody who's a pressure fighter, who's winging big, wild shots, that trying to be too evasive and, you know, slipping a lot could be dangerous because there's airs to be had. So if I got really good at just staying in my shell and just utilizing movement with my hands up and keeping everything tight, that I would be safest here. And that is the game plan that we initiated. And we prepped through the whole camp. Defense on point. Because let's face it, you're gonna get hit. But you want to get hit as little as possible. And if you focus your whole camp on offense and your defense is lazy and you didn't train it and you start getting hit by an offensive pressure fighter, you're in for trouble. So I don't know exactly what percentage I put forward towards defense, but I'd say a lot of people just do 100% offense and 0 defense. And mine was probably more like, let's put 70% of training camp into offense and 30% into defense. So easy to do. Like I said, get somebody in front of you, have them throw shots at you, switching up levels, and you just stand there and you just get that eyesight super locked in so you're not scared of those shots hitting you. Now moving on to tip #2, we're talking about getting your body conditioning up. And I'm going to throw some clips of in the first round how many times I got hit to the body. Because as we just previously talked about, I was really focused on getting my hands up and making sure my defense was on point so I don't get knocked out. I'm not worried about anybody knocking me down to the body because my body conditioning was on point. So even though Mossab hit me to the body probably flush 6 times in the first round because I was so focused on him not hitting me in the head, it did not matter. And he actually came up to me after the fight. We were sitting down watching the rest of the event, or watching the main event because I was the semi-main event, and we were watching it and he came up and he went, "Dude, I can't believe you didn't go down from those body shots. I was throwing everything I had into them. How did you stay up?" And I just told him, "We knew you were going to hit me to the body. We conditioned the heck out of it so I would not get hurt from them. And that was something special we had to do because, as you already saw, he put Liam Harrison down with that left body shot. So this guy hits hard. But that's something I always stress. I always say you have to have on point. You can't condition your head. You can condition your body. You can condition your legs. We've talked about that in a previous video. When a pressure fighter is coming after you and you know you have to protect your head, be aware that your elbows are going to rise up and you might get clipped there, and you want to be able to take it. No soft stomach. Tip number 3 is do not be intimidated and don't let the pressure fighter bully you. As soon as a pressure fighter knows he can bully you, he can push you around the ring, he knows you're intimidated, he is just going to go on the hunt. It'll be like a lion going after a wounded animal. So you have to make sure you are ready to show him that even though you're going to fight smart, you're going to move, you are still willing to get in there and bang with him for a moment. Now that takes us right away to tip number 4, and that is make him respect you. How do you do that? You have to hit them hard. You have to let these guys know, these pressure fighters, that you're not just a punching bag that they can just bang away on as they walk forward, walk forward, walk forward. Hit them hard once or twice and you get the respect, and right away they'll go, okay, I need to be a cautious pressure fighter, as opposed to somebody who's just gonna come in and just try and brawl because they know there's no need to respect this person. This guy can't hurt me. I've had that in my fights before where I've beaten the pressure fighter and I test out at first and see, can this guy hurt me? If I decide he can't hurt me and there's no need to respect him, then I'm just coming. So you don't need to do it right away. It doesn't need to be as soon as the bell rings, come out and hit him. But I would say within the first minute or so of the fight, you want to at least clip him once. Because as soon as you do that, the fight will take a little shift. It won't be dramatic right away, but it'll be a little bit. And you'll just see them ease off that pressure just a tad. Now, tip number 5, and this goes hand in hand what we just discussed, use caution early in the fight. I do want to make sure I get respect, but I don't want to just run out and go, oh, okay, this guy's coming, I'm coming, and you just end up banging. I always like to use the beginning of the fight to feel what these guys have. And I've had some times where people tell me, ooh, you're up against a good pressure fighter, and I come out and I go, yeah, but his shots don't hurt. They don't hurt me, so it doesn't matter how much pressure he applies, I'm just going to take his shots and do my counters. But when I was fighting somebody like Mosab, I went, you know what, I need to be cautious in the first minute. I need to test out his power. So if I go to block a big overhand, he launches an overhand and a body hook, and I'm, not being cautious enough, and I end up getting clipped because I'm coming forward and he knocks me out. That's a foolish way to approach the fight. I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to block once, test out. I might get hit once, test it out. I'll move around a little bit. I'll see if he has a little bit more, what kind of percentage he's putting into his punches. But I am 100% being cautious early in the fight until I know exactly what this guy has and how dangerous he really is. Moving on to tip number 6, a pressure fighter is going to want to have you fight them right here. He wants to be in that banging range. He wants to be in that zone where he's comfortable. So how do I avoid it? I have to use my feet. I have to be mobile. I have to bounce. I have to be able to back up if he approaches me. Take angles when I need to. Being able to utilize your footwork to make them miss is going to be key in defeating a pressure fighter. Now, I'm not saying run. I'm not saying run around the ring the whole time and bore the crowd. I'm just saying be tactical and make sure this guy, when he wants to approach, you're either hitting them and then moving, or moving and then hitting them. It's still an entertaining fight. This fight with Mosab was voted for Fight of the Year in 2015 with Glory. But I still utilized my footwork and it still got voted for the #1 fight of the year. Utilizing footwork does not mean you're running. It does not make you a boring fighter. Fight smart, use your feet. Tip number 7 is all mental. What we're going to be talking about here is mental. And it is understanding that a pressure fighter throws bombs. They are generally launching shots. They're trying to take you out quickly. They're in your face because they know they have the power to hurt you. But you need to understand that that means 9 out of 10 times they're going to tire out faster than you will. So recognizing that, like we already talked about, caution early on is a great idea. That is so important. And that was a tactic I had against Mosab. He is going to come and pressure me in round 1. If I lose round 1, that's fine. He's going to start pressuring me in round 2 as well. I knew that I could probably win that round, but if I didn't, he would be tired by round 3, exhausted round 4 and 5, and I would win those 3 rounds. Now, I didn't want the scorecards to reflect a 3-2 for me because that's too close. I didn't like those odds. So in the end, it actually reflected more like 4-1 for me. But you just have to make your peace with the fact that they will get tired and you don't want to exchange with them while they're still fresh. Just mentally, no, they will tire out. And once they tire out, then it's my turn to go. And finally, guys, a fantastic tip is utilize your front kick. Because at this range here where I'm punching, he can punch me. If I start extending my front kick out, there is no way when I extend my front kick that he is punching me. He has to close the gap. And then we go back to that idea of footwork. I front kick him, I take my angle, and I keep him out of that range there where he's super dangerous. I keep him out of that punch range so that he's constantly having to work his way in, but eat the front kicks in the stomach. And the more front kicks somebody takes, the more hesitant they're gonna get, or the more recklessly aggressive they are going to get. Either one works well for you as the smart and evasive fighter. Now guys, recognize this is not the only way to beat a pressure fighter. These are 8 points that I used when I was fighting the best pressure fighter at 145 pounds in kickboxing in the world. And they worked great for me, so I just wanted to pass them on to you. But there are certainly other tactics you could utilize that we didn't talk about today. These are just ones that are personal favorites for me. Now, guys, in a future episode, we're going to talk about how I lost to Robin van Roosmalen, because he is also a pressure fighter, but a very different pressure fighter from Mosab Amrani. And I know a lot of people have been asking me to do a breakdown of one of my losses, talk about what I learned from it, talk about the experience, talk about maybe the game plan and how it didn't work. And the person to do that best of is Robin van Roosmalen, because he is the one guy that I fought where I left the ring and I went, wow, that guy I just lost. There's not an excuse that, oh, the judging was really bad, or early on in my career when I fought another guy who was #1, I just didn't have the mental experience and the mental fortitude to think I was good enough to win. With Robin, it was just, holy smokes, this guy is so strong, so much stronger than me, great pressure fighter, great technician. He just beat me that night. So we're going to talk about that soon. I know a lot of people are keen to see me talk about a loss as opposed to one of my wins. All right, guys, thanks for joining today. If you know somebody who would be interested in learning about how to defeat pressure fighters, share this video with them, give it a like, get subscribed if you haven't already. Train hard, guys, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.